The AT&T story that I teased last week got more complicated, including taking the client's phones unintentionally, unplanned. It wasn't planned action. Taking them offline, unusable for about 20
DougBot
hours.
said I'm working here.
This is in a 24/7 facility that needs to have phones functional. I asked myself, is it right for me to be talking about this story, phone system, on a Windows computing show? And specifically when I'm focused on helping IT professionals, mostly computer support people, make more money. And I wound up saying yes, because this is one of my most profitable areas. A little bit fringe because it's a little bit outside of computers, but it's super, super profitable, and I'll be giving some clues as to why. But you got to do it right. There's wrong ways and right ways to accomplish it. And I think I've got a pretty good formula down now, so we're going to be talking about that. I'm a little bit late getting started because I'm not feeling very well. Headache. That's why I'm sitting down. I don't think you've seen me sitting for a while. So I'm going to try to keep reminding me of myself once in a while to chill down, slow down. Try to keep the energy level lower. I just start talking about computers. It gives me energy. And doing the show gives me energy. Yeah, I think I also had, I'm going to delay a little bit before getting into the AT&T because I need to check. I think I had, it seems like I had a question from a viewer by email. Yeah, and so I'm looking for that. You know what? I don't think I flagged it. Because it's not showing up in my folder for today's show. Let's see, I know it came to the show email. So how about if I search that way? Search my email for that address. Oh, hey, I found it. Oh, it only came in yesterday. All right, so let's put it in the proper folder where it belongs, because organization is everything. Well, it's not really everything, but it helps a lot. Okay, so I'm flagging it for the Live Windows Training 26 folder because I created a new folder for 2026, and I create a folder for today's show within that folder. There it is. Close this down. So this is a question from a viewer, and let's see, I need to put, let's go get a link. I just hit the link, copy link button and pasting it into the reply email. And I'll scroll down here and see if, oops, sorry, I can't talk to you now. See if this is all okay to bring up on screen. Oh, yeah. Okay, some of you might know this offhand. I'm not quite certain offhand what might be going wrong here, but this is coming from the name J.A. And I'm not going to expose that address, so I don't really have the person's name. Okay, so here we go. You're on. For those of you who want to try answering the question. It says, greetings, Doug. I have access to a brand new Dell 15 DC 15250 laptop. Fell off a truck. You have access to? No. I've with Win 11 Pro with clean install of Windows from the manufacturer. I have tried to do the OOBE bypass NRO command in the command window when it comes to connecting to a network. The issue is the command window does not come up when pressing the function key Shift F10. I followed the steps from your video. Well, the bypass NRO command is no longer available with Windows 2025. Wait a minute. Sorry. All right, with the headache and medication, I'm not remembering, but the 25H2, that's it. 25H2, that bypass NRO command, I believe, was removed, but that's not what's not working for JA. JA says function Shift F10 is not working, and as far as I know, that still works with 25H2, and you have to use a different technique to bypass the Windows account. But he says it's Pro. So really the easiest way to do that is, and I don't have the screens in mind, but when you get to the point of, first of all, make sure you don't have your internet connected. When it gets to a point of wanting you to connect to the internet in order to do an account, there's another option with a link that you can click on. I don't know what it's called. Other options, more options, or something like that. And what you're trying to get to is a place where you're telling it that you're setting this up for a business and you're going to be logging into a Windows domain, Windows domain. That's the right thing. Tell it you're going to be signing into Windows domain. Why does that feel wrong to say it that way? I don't know. Even though you're lying, that's okay. It's okay to lie. Microsoft does it to us. You have my permission to lie. Tell it you're going to be logging into domain. Just domain. Yeah, David Graham says just domain, just the word domain. The domain server. Yeah. Even though you're not going to, even if it's a home use computer. And then what happens next is it just asks you to put in a username, just a local account username, because if you're going to be signing into a domain, that has to be done later after Windows is up and running. So it will always give you the ability to log in with a local user account. So I started this off thinking that I was going to need help from the chat room, but that was regarding the function Shift F10 not working. That should work. I'm not aware of any environment where it does not work, although I have had, I do recall having trouble with it, getting that to work. What was the circumstances? I don't have much hope again, but it might have just been that if you're assuming that you need function Shift F10, try Shift F10 without the function key. If you just want to be able to get to a command prompt to see how to do that, but you don't need that. Not with Windows 11 Pro. Absolutely. I never do any of the bypass techniques with Windows 11 Pro. It's just so easy to claim you're going to be connecting to a domain server. So, JA, I hope that helps. And I will fire that off to you right now. And if you get that email soon enough, you might actually catch us while the live stream is still running. Phil Stodd says, I thought it was Alt, not FN. On a laptop computer or a keyboard where you have, which way do I want to do this? Let's do use the keyboard camera. I tell you what, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the adrenaline, but already my headache's feeling better. I mean, in terms of my headache's health, it's feeling worse because I feel less headache pain. For a headache to be well and healthy, it's got to be giving me a lot of pain, right? Keyboard camera. Do I have anything else exposed here that shouldn't be? No. See here, this keyboard has the function keys showing in white, and the blue items would be for the FN key. But some keyboards and some laptops, they'll have the function key numbers and letters in blue, which would mean that you do need to hold down the function key to get those keys. Now, I wonder if I have one example here. Well, now this one, I can't really tell when you need the function key, because these function keys aren't in any color and the FN key doesn't have any particular color. But I would be, what would it be? Yeah, see on this other keyboard that I have, this is my main keyboard. See, the actual primary use of the keys is in the upper left corner of the key. So in the upper left corner of the key, we have these symbols. That would imply to me on this keyboard is probably going to be hold down the function key and then press these keys to get the bottom right corner is going to be the FM. But I don't know if that's standardized. I think there's a lot of things about computers that people say this or that is the way it works. And then I find that that's not always the case. Yeah, so here, this one. Here's a different example. This keyboard, the F number keys are shown in blue in the what might be thought of as the bottom right, and the FN key is blue. So on this keyboard, you have to hold down the FN key in order to get the function key functions. Otherwise, you're going to be getting the symbols on top. Rand Israel says it's usually configurable in BIOS. Well, that would be dependent upon the BIOS of the computer that you're working on. And I have seen that also, where you can have it. And I don't, usual, well, maybe in Rand's experience, the computers he's worked on, it's usually been available. But unless you do a real, scientific survey across multiple manufacturers and models, and I take that usual with a grain of salt. David Graham says function keys are never standard. So yeah, one person's experience of usual may be different than another person's experience of usual, depending upon what the computers that you typically come across. All right, so slow down, Doug. See, I told you I was going to try to keep the energy lower. I don't feel like I'm doing a good job of that. Dead air. Let's enjoy some dead air. Yeah, there I got an audio confirmation from me finally. I guess my excuse is I was watching chat on OBS, so I would have seen if people were saying they couldn't hear me. My microphone is on a desktop stand. Usually I've got it hanging up overhead, so that's different. I need to remember not to bounce my hand down on the table, because that sounds kind of noisy. Let's try this demonstration. Yeah, I'm not hitting the table hard, but I think you hear that as kind of a loudish sound. I also need to drink a lot of water. Start thinking about the AT&T thing. And let's go do this, because I'm gonna say hello to people. But here's who's showing up as active in chat right now. If you don't see your name there right now, go ahead and put something else in chat so that I can see you're present and say hello to you as well. David Graham says, yes, water, stay hydrated. I'll tell you what, I've been actually counting my bottles of water, aiming for 6 of these every day. And in the morning at breakfast time, I discard the empties and crush them. And my objective is to be able to crush 6 of these a day and see how well that does for changing some health-ish issues. Not health issues, health-ish issues, health-adjacent issues. All right, so hello to Alice. LJ Wham, that's Alice Jones. Baldy is Brian. Hello, David Graham. Hello, Doman 2000. Hello, DougBot is here again. Jeez, can't shake that dude. Edward Bass, Frosty Winnipeg. Hello, Jeff Ryman. Hello, John Downey, John Williams, Ken Stout. Hello to you alls. Lawn Dog, me, Zavi Manor. And Phil Stodd, hello, Ran Israel, hello, Rick Lakes. Scott, hello to you, Selden Ball. Winter Mute. Oops, somebody just jumped in. See how that one just jumped down? But I can't hardly tell who it is. I know that Arnold Albert just came in. Hello, Arnold. Now I gotta scan through this and see if I can recognize. Marsman, did you just jump in? Hello? Slow down, inhale, exhale, relax. Oh, wait a minute. How did I pop out of that? I didn't even click to exit it. Oh, well. Yeah, Frosty Winnipeg, I have a can and bottle crusher that I got several weeks ago. I should zoom this in. Xander Vanderhoven, hello. You were here with us last week. Glad to have you. You know, you're back again. You're obviously not behaving like a troll, so we're going to turn you blue, make you a moderator or a moderator, however you pronounce it from wherever you're at in the world. Moderator or moderator. I don't ask you to do anything with that. It just turns you blue and lets us know that you've been around and we recognize you. You are welcome. It's easy to get that status here. Do a little bit of chit chat with us. And be kind. He's from the Netherlands. Ah, I've got a client that goes to the Netherlands. Well, it used to be once a year for about half the year, but now he seems to be going 2 or 3 times a year. He's got a home there and a home here. Okay. Hello, Jim. Oh, Jim's here. He wasn't in the list when I read through all the names. All right. AT&T. It's different after this week than it was last Saturday when I teased the subject. Where to start? So the AT&T phone system, let's get this out on the table. Most of what I'm going to be talking about this troubleshooting experience, troubleshooting techniques are valid no matter what equipment it's with. This is going to be troubleshooting with the phone systems, sort of. There's also the integration aspect. Systems integrator is one of my pronouns. Is the word pronoun the right thing to call my occupation or what I do? Systems integrator, I very much identify with that because a significant part of what I do is integrating the computers with the other IT adjacent systems, the internet connection, the phones, copy machine, check scanner, credit card machines, a variety of things that are computer adjacent. I get involved with secure surveillance, the camera systems. You've seen me talking about those. A different hat when I switch tasks. I made reference to it being very profitable Now, the reason for that is because when my client asks me to get involved in one of these other areas, I say to them in some level of communication, somewhere along the line, this is not my area of expertise, but I'm happy to help with this. I got to tell you that I might not be the most efficient person to handle this. It's probably most efficient and proper for you to contact their support for that company and work with them. Very often, they no, we don't want to do that. We don't like working with them. We like working with you. So I can offer to be the intermediary where I'm making the call to the support for the other system on their behalf. Sometimes they have to authorize me to act on their behalf, and I'm happy to do that because I can converse with the people on the other side on a technical level, technical understanding. Even if I don't understand that other technical area very well, I understand my side of it. I understand troubleshooting techniques and processes. I've got the logic and reasoning capabilities to try to figure out what's wrong, and I can communicate what specifically is happening. I can clearly tell them what the symptoms are, whereas a client might just say, it's broken. I get nothing. Well, what happens when you click on this or turn this power switch on or something? Are you telling me there's no noise, nothing visual on the screen at all? It stays black. Oh no, it comes up to the main screen, or whatever words they put to it. So they don't know very well how to describe the circumstances and the symptoms to the support that they're talking to, whereas I can do that. So when I tell them I'd be happy to help you with that, but I tell them there's going to be a learning curve for me, and I can't eat the cost of that. I can't, if I don't charge for the time that I have to take to learn a little bit more about the system in order to help with this, I can't stay in business doing that. And they say, that's fine, whatever. We want you to just handle it. And it's very, I enjoy that kind of work. I enjoy learning new things. And then when I contact the support for whatever system that we're trying to fix, I can tell them, look, I'm primarily a computer guy. I don't know a lot about phones, but they've asked me to help out with this. And usually the technician on the other side of that call is happy, even delighted to have someone that is closer to their language. And I'm very comfortable with them to be able to sit when they throw out some of their technobabble. Yeah, Ken Stout's ears just perked up, or somebody last week that said, "Oh, technobabble, new word." When they throw out some technobabble, I can very easily and comfortably say, "I don't know what that word means. Can you explain that one to me?" And they're very comfortable and appreciative of me just being right up front about it instead of trying to BS them. Okay, so that is why I think it is valid to have this kind of a conversation. Ken's not going for the clickbait comment. All right. All right, slow down, take a breath, Doug. Just take a breath. Think about what you want to go into next on this story. How did the symptom, the problem, first present? Yeah. Okay. And yeah, I've got to figure out some way to cut down some of this because this will eat up the whole 2 hours, which I think it'll be an interesting story. When this first came to my attention, let's see. Oh, I know. My client called me and said the computers aren't working. Really? No, not all your computers aren't working? No, none of them are working. Okay, you turn the power switch on and nothing happens on screen. Oh no, that's not. They're running. We just can't get to such website. They have one website for a vertical market program that they all use. We can't get to that. Okay. Excuse me. So internet is down. So look down in the bottom right corner for that. It's usually a square, rectangle computer monitor. When the internet is down, it should look like a wireframe globe. He said, no, it looks like a rectangle monitor. And actually the internet's working. We just can't get to this website. Really? Why do you say that the internet's working? And well, I click on it and it comes up. All right, well, that might be a cached page, right? So I have them do a Google search and Google search comes up. Okay, that looks good. Or I actually click on a website from that Google search. I don't care which one, just click on any one of them and it fails to come up. Not available, something like that. So it turns out that they can do Google searches, and when they float the mouse down to the monitor in the bottom right corner, it says its internet is connected, but they can't browse any website. Cannot get to any website whatsoever. And so I tried to connect remotely and I can't, but that was already a problem in this office. I already couldn't connect remotely with LogMe and Rescue, but we had remote PC set up for their own remote connections. So I tried
please.
their remote PC. Zvi, there you go, Zvi. Sort of. Yeah, adjacent. Your answer, Zvi, is adjacent. He's saying it's DNS. Yeah, close. No cigar. Not quite. And David Graham also says no DNS access. Not quite. Oh, Scott asks, are phones VoIP, voice over internet? Yes, adjacent. No ISP interface. No, the ISP was okay. Comcast, we could ping Comcast. Fine. VoIP adjacent, I think I'm going to say. Okay, let me get back on track. Where was I at? I caught up some of those what people are responding to. Oh, David Graham here. I love this one. On-job training is almost always paid for. Even when I come back to my computer and do some research, I start my clock on times in my time slip program and end it at the end, and I charge them for my research on it. I tend to be a little bit soft on it because I sometimes get what shiny object syndrome, where I kind of go off on a tangent that's not really pertinent for them. All right, so I go to the office and sequence of events here. Oh, I start trying things myself on their computers. At some point, I'm trying to think if there were other things before I got to this point, but at some point I took a long Ethernet cable and ran it from a computer directly to the Comcast box and let the computer get a new IP address directly from the Comcast box, and everything works perfectly. So yes, they have voice over internet, and I look at the boxes from the phone vendor. When I went into that room, I said, I don't remember these. I'm wondering if they got new equipment, but no, I don't think they did. I just don't think I ever had much cause to really consciously be aware of what equipment. And I see a firewall box. There's a hardware firewall box. So I think there's something going on with that firewall box. So I put in a call to the IP phone vendor and talked to their triage person. I'm not sure if there's a better word for that. It's not really a word in the tech industry, but their scheduling person, whatever. Give the basic description of what's going on. She opens a trouble ticket. Promise me someone's gonna call back. David Graham says, "Is it a paid firewall?" It is rented from the phone vendor. The phone vendor provides it, so my client pays a monthly fee for that. You're on the right track there, though. What do you think happened in relation to that, David? Let's get him on. Oh, there's Scott with 23. Let's go give Scott 23 points. Let's see, I gotta go back here. 23. Why in the world does Doug do this? And then John Williams responds with 33. It's the two of them that keep doing that. I only learned recently, I don't think Ken Stout knows what this is in reference to either. Which John is it? John Williams. John Williams is 33. I really shouldn't have done that because now that's going to trigger other people to do it. I'm not going to give it to other people. And I'm not going to keep doing that for you guys anyway. Baldy wants 5,023 points. Brian. All right. Oh, David Graham says they didn't pay the bill. No, that's a reasonable thought, but no, that's not it. The phone vendor set up the firewall for his system and it interfered with the ISP setup. Nope, not it. Arnold says, stay on course. Stop doing the points. Okay. So this is in the, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the afternoon or so forth. And I don't know how long it's going to take for somebody to call me back. Maybe it was 4 o'clock when I put in the call, asking for a call back. And it's at this point that I, know that it apparently is a problem with their hardware firewall. So I talked with the staff, and there were 4 computers that were of importance. The Ethernet wire goes from the switch through the walls to the IP phone that's on their desk, and then from the IP phone goes to their computer. If I move the Ethernet cable from the network switch to the Comcast router and let that go through the phone, then to the computer will work, but the phone won't work because the phone is no longer getting its signal and probably no longer getting, more significantly, its power over Ethernet because it's not connected to the power over Ethernet switch. So I realized I need to run 2 Ethernet cables for each station if they all want to have their phone and their computer functional. Turns out the front desk needs phone and computer functional. So we used the existing Ethernet through the walls for the phone, and I ran another Ethernet over the floor to the Comcast router and had a portion of tape. They put duct tape over it, which I permitted at the time because I didn't have a good option on hand. Since then, I have bought a roll of gaffer's tape, very expensive tape that pulls off much cleaner because once I got my Ethernet back, it was a long cable. I didn't want to discard it because of 4 feet of gook on it, so I cleaned the gook off. Then I bought an expensive roll of gaffer's tape. So that computer, we had 2. Then the second computer for the bookkeeper, she said, I don't need phone. I think she's kind of glad to have a reason to not be able to talk on the phone. I just need computer. So we just switched the Ethernet cables running through the walls to be to the Comcast box. So she would just have computer. The administrator, the company administrator, who's down the hall, way down the hall, She said, I don't need phone either. I have my cell phone. So she just wanted a computer. So we did the wiring for her just for a computer. The fourth computer, she said, my phones and computer are both working. I never did investigate how on earth could both of hers be working. Is she mistaken? I still don't know. I never did go check that out because she said she didn't need it. Well, she wasn't actually there that day. She was there the next day. So when I asked her the next day, she said they're both working. Oh, you know what? I know why that is now. Oh, this is even better. Oh my gosh. All right. I'm not going to explain that bit just yet because you need more background first. So I got all those computers functional. Half an hour after the company's closed, I'm back here at my home and I get a call from a technician letting me know that he's working on it. Turns out, yeah, we'll do this piece here. Turns out I didn't know this because they didn't tell me. He had it fixed within about an hour, but I did not know that. So all the other computers were still bypassing. Sometime the next afternoon, and by the way, this is not my teaser about the phones being down. This is we haven't got up to that part yet. We haven't got up to the 20-hour phone outage. This is not the part about the phone outage. Sometime the next afternoon, I was informed that the problem had been fixed. No, it wasn't that next afternoon. It was like 2 days later. Yeah, because the office went through the whole next day with that handicapped operation. But when I came back in that following day after rerouting things, and that fourth person who said her system's up and running, both her phone and computer are working, the reason for that is because I didn't change anything on her system and they had fixed the problem, but they did not tell me. They gave me a trouble ticket number. The triage person gave me a trouble ticket number. A technician called me at the beginning of his work. I had given my email address and the office manager's email address for getting updates on the trouble ticket. We neither of us ever, to this day, ever received an email referencing that trouble ticket. I never got a call back from that technician. Turns out what happened is the technician got it fixed. I haven't told you how he fixed it yet. I haven't told you what caused the problem yet. That's worse. That's far worse than anything I've got into yet. Turns out the technician solved the issue with a workaround, using a workaround technique, and called the security desk. Okay, this is one of the government-funded, low-income, disabled senior housing facilities, 12 stories tall. Turns out the technician called the office number, the security desk answered. He left the message with them that the problem is solved. And I think assumed that he would relay it on. The security staff is completely separate from the office staff. Except for the security manager, they don't have a whole lot of interaction with the office staff. They really don't. That's not something that they're likely going to say. The security desk is going to say, "Oh, you fix it? Okay, great." Well, the staff will obviously see that it's fixed and working in the morning. No, they won't, because Doug bypassed and changed where the cables are routed. So no, they won't be able to see that it's fixed. So the technician, their structure, their infrastructure in this MSP, and I did talk about this MSP last week. This is the company. I think I must have told part of this story then, because this is the foundation you need to understand for the 20-hour phone down issue. This is the IP phone vendor. Um, so when I found out that it had been fixed, I put the wires back where they belong, and it's all okay. So here's what the problem was. I don't think anybody came up with it yet. Nobody gave me an exclamation mark C for what they think happened. Although I think I gave you a clue last week. Did I actually tell you this whole thing yesterday? Last week? Yesterday. No, stay on course. So nothing else there. Okay, so that's where I last glanced. I didn't look very thoroughly through all of that. The problem was the firewall had gone end of life in December. I think it was December. It had gone end of life in December. Maybe it was January. And the way that it was configured to fail closed, meaning when it goes end of life, it doesn't just stop getting updates. This feels real familiar. I think I told you this last week. It doesn't just stop getting updates, but it stops any firewall protection. So when it gets configured, the person doing the configuring has the choice, the default choice is that it fails closed. So if it goes end of life and nobody's been really managing at all, then it's going to fail closed, block off all web access, even though you're still technically connected to the internet. You can ping Google, I can ping DNS just fine, but actually pulling up a website is what would not work. So it failed closed. I had a few exchanges back and forth. I drafted emails for my client to send to them that was pretty harsh about their failure here. They excused it. They tried to excuse it by saying, well, we got notifications over the holidays, meaning the Christmas holidays. That feels familiar too. I'm sure I told you about this last week. And we're just catching up with them. I don't buy that because the firewall vendor has a great reputation of they publish their end of life dates long in advance. This is an MSP who claims to, prevent problems from happening and be managing everything. This device went end of life, and the fix
Read
that
chat, please.
the technician did. Yeah, Phil says, I think you mentioned this last week. Yes, I did. Because this was the MSP story. And I said there's an AT&T story. Well, it turns out they're kind of closely linked and related in a way that I didn't think they were last week. So consider this review. And I'm probably giving more detail this time. I don't know. And also the device by default sends email notices to whoever is on record in the configuration of the device as the administrator. So they should have been getting emails saying, hey, this is expiring. This is going to be end of life. Fails close. So what he did is he applied a temporary license. He was able to, apparently, that's what he told me anyway, apply a temporary license to extend it, to keep it functional. I'm not totally confident that that's precisely what it did. He might have done some other, make it fail open, yet manually turned on some protections. Now, I don't care about that device providing firewall protection to the computers. I'm completely comfortable with Windows firewall. The problem is, the reason a hardware firewall, as I understand, is non-negotiable for an IP phone system is that an IP phone system, those devices and that software has no built-in firewall whatsoever. So a hacker can relatively easily gain access to the phone system if there's no hardware firewall in place, and then move laterally through your network and get to the computers. Well, what that firewall does is it blocks all attempts at connection to the IP phone equipment, except for connections that are coming from the IP address of the phone vendor, because they need to be able to connect remotely. So if that hardware firewall is not there, then anybody can attempt to connect to that equipment remotely. And there are bots out there that are constantly poking at public IP addresses randomly, trying to see what ports are open, what's available. Well, the
Recheck,
Comcast
please.
router is configured to automatically forward any request to a particular port to the IP phone equipment. So all somebody has to do is probe that public IP address, even at random, with the common port for an IP phone system, and they'd be able to get into it. Sam Lazar, that last read chat, please. So Sam Lazar saying, I have had clients who forgot to renew their Microsoft Office 355 subscription. That was before the 365 came into being. Just messing with you. Microsoft Office 355 subscription, or in case update their card details. Yeah, most of the time when I've come across subscription renewal problems, it's been antivirus. But yeah, I've had that too. The Microsoft 365 subscriptions not getting renewed because they didn't put in a new credit card. Their credit card expired typically. Phil Stodd says the person being notified should be made aware of what end of life of a device really means. I would expect, as Sam corrects the 365, yeah, he didn't need to do that. We knew. Yeah, the MSP, it shouldn't have to be explained to them what end of life means. They should have been replacing this equipment earlier. So in response to this communication with them, they said, well, we'll give you, we'll send you a proposal for new equipment, replacement equipment, because they got to replace the equipment. They can't just renew this license. It's no longer supported by the manufacturer. They literally cannot just renew the license. They have to replace the equipment. And they said that the replacement devices are on back order. It's going to be 2 or 3 weeks before we can get it, if we can get it. And then they quoted how much it's going to cost. It's going to be a higher monthly rate for the new equipment. And I looked at that and I said, we can buy a hardware firewall for less than what their monthly charge is going to be for supporting the one that they want to install. Well, the one that they're proposing to install is, I deduce, it's the model that they standardized on. They want the same model for all of their clients so that they don't have to learn different models and support different models. Well, they're buying one that is capable of handling a complex office environment, complex network and phone environment that we don't have. Ours is much simpler. We can deal with a much simpler firewall device. So I did some homework and some research, scrambling for it, charging for my time, and it came up with a Ubiquiti firewall. I think I showed it to you last week. Yeah, we actually did. Yeah, we configured it. Did some initial configuration. Doug, when are you going to get onto the AT&T part? Yeah, after now. So anyway, we wound up putting that in. That went pretty smooth. Except that it didn't. It went pretty smooth until it didn't. I installed that on the very last day of that temporary license. I got it installed, which I think was Tuesday. Was that the 20th? I want to say that it was 20th was the date. Yeah, so that was Tuesday. Got it installed in the evening after hours. Tested computers, tested phones, everything worked. sent an email to the technician at the IP phone MSP saying, I got the new equipment in, please test to make sure you can access it, and let me know. And he replied later the following day that yes, his remote access worked, but it did not work through the port forwarding that I had configured. But he said, don't worry about it, I have access anyway. What? How do you have access anyway if it's not through the port forwarding? I never got an answer to that, although maybe I now have a suspicion. Okay, so Wednesday, all day long, everything worked perfectly. Thursday, I go back to the office. Here's the new stuff. I go back to the office in order to do testing of the lines. Oh, I was going to bring in a show and tell. I bought a new tool to deal with this, because now I'm turning my attention to the AT&T problem. The AT&T problem, when that first, as we were going through all this, they were pulling up invoices. They pulled up this invoice showing $1,200 some odd dollars per month that they're paying to AT&T. So wait a minute, you don't have AT&T internet service. Why are you paying $1,200 some odd dollars a month to AT&T? And the story comes out that the equipment for that is up on the second floor. And we eventually come to the understanding that this provides the emergency phone service for the elevators. And eventually, down the line, we can become aware that it provides the analog phone lines for the elevators, also analog phone line for the fax machine. So I start investigating this equipment, again, with my client's approval to get involved with this, understanding that this is not my area expertise. I'm probably not going to be efficient with this. He said, please handle it. We've had this going on for years. We don't understand. We just sign the forms and we just, okay, do it. They just lay over the barrel and take it. So we want to find, and this $1,200, the reason why they're looking through this invoice is because they have received from UPS or something, FedEx, whatever, new equipment for AT&T, replacement equipment for AT&T. And this equipment has been sitting on the floor for a while. An installer came out for AT&T several weeks ago, before all this stuff with the IP phones. He came out to install that equipment, and he looked at it and said, no, I'm not going to install this. This is the wrong equipment. This is not going to produce dial tone. It's not going to give you analog phone lines. I'm not going to install it. So he reported back to his people. And the sales staff for AT&T keeps pushing us to let it be installed. And we're pushing back. My client's been pushing back, and then they got me involved this last week, pushing back on it because it's the wrong equipment. The installer tells us it's the wrong equipment. The salesman's insisting it's the right equipment. And I talked to the salesman on the phone myself and say, we don't know what these phone lines go to. I can see that there's 5 phone lines involved that are going into the punch down block. RJ11 jacks, 5 pair plugged into a patch panel. And then there's an Amphenol connector connecting to an AT&T device. That's connecting to a fiber optic modem, router, whatever the right word is for that device. So these are fiber optic lines. This system is providing internet connection and these 5 analog dial tone lines, POTS, plain old telephone system lines. But the internet service for the office is Comcast. Remember that. Where do these 5 lines go to? The salesman says, well, we can do a site survey. It's going to cost you X hundreds of dollars. would come out and tell you where those lines go. They don't know where they go. We're of the understanding that they provide the analog phone lines for the elevators and the fire alarm system and a fax machine. And we're thinking the fifth one might be a old style phone up in the 12th floor kitchen. So I buy this thing. I buy this gadget. Some of you are going to recognize this. I know some of you have used these devices before. Do you want to guess what it is? Need to find out where these phone lines go? What is it that I buy to try to find out where these phone lines go? Absolutely, there's people in chat that would be able to guess this. Let's go see if they did. See, down the bottom. Tone generator, bingo. Signal tracer, bingo. Sounder, that might be a slang word for it. I don't know.
Read chat, please.
Ethernet tester, no. No, because we're looking at the analog phone lines, the RJ11 phone lines. So there's multiple different costs of these. I bought the Cadillac. I bought the $175 model instead of these lesser ones. I could have bought this one that doesn't have the carrying case, but this one with the carrying case also had a filter. And the equipment room and next to the elevators, I thought that when I did my research, I thought, well, that filter might prove really useful. So anyway, I bought that device with the intent and expectation to be able to trace where these analog phone lines go to. So Thursday afternoon,
Read chat, please.
I'm working on that. John Downey says, I thought AT&T was doing away with analog phone lines. Yeah, they don't like them. They definitely don't like them. But we're paying over $1,200 per month for this. Now, I think what happened in the past, because of John's comment, I'm giving a little extra background here. I think in the past, it was far less expensive when AT&T was providing analog phone lines. And then as AT&T wants to get away from analog phone lines, what they do now in our current setup is over the fiber optic line, they are able to take they got this big box, some kind of a gateway, that out of that fiber optic signal, they are able to provide analog dial tone phone lines. It's not the regular old school analog phone lines. When they made that switch where they're no longer providing the regular analog phone lines, they have to do it through fiber optic. I'm sure the monthly bill jumped up because now they have to provide not just internet service, but a very high expensive internet service in order to get the equipment that does the phone lines. I'm suspecting that they don't have those phone lines available with a lower capability internet service. Now, I don't know that for sure. Brian says, when this AT&T equipment was originally installed, the building manager was given a schematic and layout of the system. It got filed away in some cabinet somewhere. Yeah, well, we've had a lot of personnel turnover. I am, except for one person, I am the most senior person within this entire enterprise. There's one leasing manager that was working there when I began working with this company. Let's see, are they providing power to the phone? John Downey asks. Yeah, I think they are. I think it'd have to, well, that question is almost irrelevant, and you'll understand why later. Because there's a very critical piece that I haven't given you yet. John Downey, he's wanting to know is through these phone lines, going through the walls to a phone somewhere, do the phone lines provide power to the phone? Do they have that power on the lines? My guess is yes. Is there a phone connected on the other end of the line that is relying upon that power? No. Definitely not. I know that now. I did not know that then. I did not know to ask that question. Jim, we call that Verizon Fios around here. Fiber Internet Optical Service, I'm guessing. The ONT. Optical Network Translation, I'm guessing. I have no idea. Handles conversion for our analog phone line. And Verizon comes through cell towers, doesn't it? Yeah, in the old days, you could have power outages and still have phone service. Doesn't POTS include power? Yes. Plain old telephone system would include power in the phone line. I suspect that that system does include power over the phone lines,
please.
although we did not have anything connected on the other end.
Read
Optical
chat, please.
network terminal. Optical network terminal. There's going to be so many times when you guys are giving me answers to things, I'm not going to take the extra time to do points right now. All services are via fiber. Oh, so the Verizon is fiber, physical fiber running from their equipment all the way to your home, I guess. That I kind of that just rings totally familiar to me. Now. The afternoon of Thursday, I'm trying to trace these down, and then I'm in the office dealing with the fax machine because I'm trying to find which of those wires is actually going to the fax machine. So I put my signal generator on the fax machine. Shortly after that, the receptionist says, the computer's not working. No, not the computer. The phone's not working. They're not working right. The phone rings. She sees a caller ID. She picks up the phone and it immediately hangs up. And the screen goes blank. The phone goes back to ready mode. Now, I don't know at that point when she said the phone's not working. I had just come into the office, started working with the fax machine. I don't know if the problem already existed before I started working with the fax machine or not. But when I became aware that there was a problem, I had just connected the signal generator to that end. And then I was going to go back upstairs and use the probe to figure out which of those wires was connected. And I think I did wind up doing that. Yeah, I went back up and used the probe and didn't get a signal on any of the lines. None of them gave me a signal to indicate which one was the fax. Now, at that point, I hadn't started investigating the phones. I guess maybe I didn't take it seriously at that point. I think because somewhere along the line, I realized the phone, the wires coming from the 66 block, the punch down block, to the an RJ11 connector, which goes into a patch panel that has an Amphenol connector that connects on the backside of it, that connects to the AT&T device. Maybe it's an ONT device. Maybe that's what that is. But I realized that there's 4 pair in one sheath, and there's a second sheath that has only a single pair. And I became suspicious that that's probably the fax number for some reason. So I unplugged that and had somebody attempt to send a fax. And it was not successful. They couldn't pick up a phone line. So we plug it back in, the fax machine works. All right, so I got the fax line identified. And then I turn my attention to the phones. All right, so where did I go next with the phones? Oh, I know. I'm highly suspicious that I must have done something that is causing the phone problem, because I am working in an area here where he seems confused. Does he know what this guy is doing? No. He seems confused. Does this guy know what he's doing? Was in play. That statement was very much in play. So I'm double checking myself to see, did I cause this? So I try to undo things that I had done. I restart equipment. I restart all the phone equipment. I restart all the
Read chat,
computer
please.
equipment. Johnson Williams says, ha ha ha, very confused. And I play with the staff, saying, because the receptionist said, well, our phones are down right now. And I said, it's the computer guy's fault. And the staff said, well, I wasn't, the staff, this receptionist said, well, I wasn't going to say that, but now that you open the door. When all is said and done, multiple indicators said, no, I did not cause it, but I was highly suspicious that I caused it. So I spent time trying to resolve it, failed. So I called that MSP that, has some bit on record that I'm not happy with him. And I reported that the phones aren't working, and I described the symptom. Now the symptom is that phone would ring, they pick up, and it immediately hangs up. Remember that the caller ID was correct, so dead air on the phone, just dead phone. Like if the phone's not plugged into anything, you pick it up, that's what it was sounding like. There's just absolutely nothing. Hold your hand up to your ears, the same thing. Well, not like this, but like this, it just absolutely nothing. Hang the phone back up, and then it rings again. Unknown caller, it says on the ID, doesn't have the correct caller ID. Pick up the phone, same experience, nothing there. Hang it up again, it rings again. The caller, the person who's placing the call, I tested it with my phone, right? I take my cell phone out and I try calling them. The caller hears it ringing, 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 never anybody answering. It's like nobody's home. The bell is ringing, but nobody's home. And never does answer. In the office, when we hang up the phone, it'll ring again until the caller gives up and hangs up their side. Until they do that, it'll keep re-ringing again, and person picks it up. Nobody. So they've been doing this. Very frustrated. So I become concerned, is this affecting the phones in the elevator? Because these are considered life-saving equipment. If somebody gets stuck in the elevator stops, it's considered life-saving equipment. And there's there's significant issues around those things got to be working. So I go test the elevator phone. Oh boy. I push the button to call. Man, this has done a lot of good for my headache, I'll tell you that. Push the button to make the call, and I hear ringing in the elevator. There's no handset. It's just a speaker on the panel. So it's ringing, and at this point, it's after hours. The office is closed at 4:30 in the afternoon. The phones automatically get forwarded to the security desk. So I push the button, and I hear it ringing. The security desk picks up the phone. Nobody, dead air. Nobody there. Hang it up. In the elevator, it just keeps ringing. And on the security desk, again, unknown caller, pick it up, dead air, hang it up. In the elevator, it eventually decides nobody's there after about 3 of those cycles. So the elevator hangs up, and then the elevator automatically tries again without pushing the button. Security desk picks up the phone, announces their name, hangs it up, and eventually I tell them, hey, stop saying your name until you tell you're dead air, or look at the phone. If it's not on the screen, you don't need to announce who you are. It keeps cycling over and over, never going to stop. I think one time we let it go for 30 minutes, never going to stop. And I found eventually what I could do is go into that equipment room, hit the power switch on the back of that AT&T box that's connected to the fiber on one side and connected to the Amphenol connector on the other side, turn the power off on it, turn it back on, and that stops the elevator from cycling those calls. A technician from the MSP that provides the phone service, the IP phones, calls me, and we start working on it together. This guy's good. This guy knows his stuff. And he teaches me more about this system that we have that nobody else knew. So this was silver lining in the cloud. This gave me a shortcut to tracing those wires because he knew something about the AT&T phone lines. But I said, wait a minute. He's the IP phone vendor. Our ISP is Comcast. IP phones go through your internet connection. And I became aware of this when he, in passing, mentions that he's watching a screen and he's seeing the AT&T analog phone lines. And so, well, wait a minute. What? No, the AT&T analog phone lines are for the elevator and for a fax machine. They're not. That's a separate system. Our IP phones are connected to Comcast. And he says, no, they are AT&T. They are not through Comcast. I go, what? So the IP phone equipment is in the office on the first floor. The AT&T fiber optic with analog phone lines for the elevator is on floor 2. I'm figuring there's a line that comes down to the office to provide for the fax machine. He's teaching me here that no, our phone service for the IP phones is routed through analog phone lines provided by AT&T through that device on the second floor. So that one phone line that does indeed go to the fax machine does go there, but all 4 of those other lines come down through the walls to the IP phone vendors. There's a 66 block, punch down block in the room where Comcast and the IP phone vendors equipment is. That 66 block obviously now has wires coming down from the second floor from the AT&T equipment to provide the phone lines to the IP phone vendor. Why not use Comcast? Comcast can provide analog phone lines through their system. No, I think my brain still hurts over this. And the AT&T equipment on the second floor is providing a very, very high-speed internet service Comcast is much lower speed, but it's completely adequate for this office because they work through websites. They don't do big uploads and downloads. They have 4, 5, 6, 7 office computers. Many of those don't do anything on the internet. So this is a whole change of procedure. I don't need the tone generator, right? That was money down the drain, except I like having the equipment. I'm not going to charge them for that tool. I could return the tool still. So yeah, I'm not going to charge them for that. So reset the brain at that point as I'm working with this technician from the phone vendor. He is able to see me place the phone calls. He's able to see phone calls come in on his equipment, and he's able to see things. There's some phone voltage problems, and he's saying what's happening is that the phone equipment is not seeing the voltage indicator or whatever indicator when we pick up the phone. So it's not actually connecting the cable, like what's the phone operator's name on what was it? Laughin? I can almost remember her name. That puts the phone line in the socket, doesn't connect the phone line, so the ring is still happening, but it doesn't recognize that you've picked up offline, picked up the phone off hook to actually connect the audio. And that's why it's still ringing. So he tries a few tricks to get around it, and we wind up concluding, we got to go to AT&T on this. So it's getting late. I think I left there. It was like 10 minutes before either 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. I don't remember. I don't want to go back and look. Of course, I did put in my time slip for it, so I do have it recorded. But I just one ringy dingy, two ringy dingy. Exactly, Brian. That's who I'm thinking of. Almost got her name. Did anyone else give her name yet? Oh, I'm so close. Can I get it before you guys do? So I put in a call for AT&T, and I'm not getting through, and they keep offering me this callback option. So I do the callback option.
Read chat, please.
Lily Tomlin, that's right. Gilda Radner? I don't think so. Lily Tomlin was the actress. The character name, was it Gilda Radner? I don't know. I recognize the name Gilda Radner, but I thought that was isn't that an actress? I don't think that was the character name doing the switchboard. And then in the recording, the automated system for picking a time for the callback, they do these things about time zone. They ask me what time zone I'm in. And then when they get to the point of selecting a callback, they say that the callback is from the central time zone and that the hours of operation is from 8 to 5 p.m. And then they tell me to punch in the time that I want for the callback. It's not clear. Am I supposed to punch in the time in Pacific time zone? Because they did ask me what time zone I'm in. Or am I supposed to punch in the time for the central time zone? Well, I punch in 715, meaning for Pacific time zone. And I think they start at 8 a.m. I think central time zone is 1 hour difference from Pacific time zone. Might be 2, I don't know. Ernestine, that was it. John Downey, Ernestine. I'll tell you what, if I had all my buttons set up to make it easy to award points, I'd be doing that, but I'm not going to stop with points every time because there's too much opportunity for you to help me here. So I'm not going to be able to talk to, well, actually the first person I taught, let's see, how was it? Oh, yes. Yeah, so I select the time, 7:15. So 7:15 a.m. in the morning, I'm here at my desk waiting for that call. But back up a little bit. We got the problem with the elevators. Somebody could get stuck in the elevator. Remember, this is life-saving equipment. There's a bunch of, you have to go through inspections for the elevators to be certain that the phone equipment, emergency phone is working. There's a liability, responsibility that we have for that equipment to be working. So they're not going to be working overnight. Sorry, we've tried everything we can do. So what I tell the security manager who stayed after hours he said, I can, it doesn't matter, I'll stay as long as you need. So I tell him, here's what I propose that you do is create a log sheet with half-hour time slots. And at every half hour, your security staff, there's like 2 or 3 security staff on at all times, as I understand, somebody at the desk and somebody doing rounds. This log sheet, every 30 minutes, your staff goes and watches the elevator to see that they're both moving. On the first floor only, you can see which floor the elevator is on. So they go observe it, see that the elevator is moving. If one of them is stopped, then they would have to press the call button because maybe there's nobody on the elevator, right? So they press the call button. That's going to make that elevator move. So they're certain the elevator's not stuck anywhere. So that's how you're going to do your reasonable due diligence. I'm just pulling a term out of the air for that. Well, I mean, I've known that term in other environments. We're doing reasonable due diligence to make sure the elevators aren't stuck, at least not for more than half an hour. And I looked at their sheet, the log sheet, when I came in the next morning, and sure enough, they had it very diligently. People were signing all the way through. Yeah, John Downey says elevator at church, we just tell people to have a cell phone when using the elevator. Yeah, in a government-funded housing situation, yeah, that won't fly. No way. There are severe regulations about elevators in this kind of environment. I think actually California, all elevators have requirements. When you go in an elevator, you see that paper thing that there's certification. You can look to see if it's expired. So 7:15 a.m. I'm at my desk. I am prepared. My phone rings right on time. My phone recently got an operating system upgrade. Yeah. It rings, and I go to press the answer button. I'm absolutely certain I hit the answer button, and the call drops. No call. And I go, OMG, what do I do now?
Read chat, please.
Marsman says, well, it must have a phone even in church. The elevator. Yeah, I think, at least in California, I think those are state-by-state regulations. I don't know. But I would think even a phone elevator should have emergency phone in a church. I don't know. So it drops the call. I'm thinking, what is it? Are they going to call back? And I'm just staring at the phone. Call back, call back, call back. And I'm putting in my plan. Think of my plan B. What am I going to do? I would just have to call in and ask for another appointment. The office is going to open at 9 a.m. and they need phones functional. So about, I don't know if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I think it was 10 minutes later, it rings again. Now at this point, I'm recording. I've got my camera set up. I've got the microphone set up because I need to know what did I do. So I've got the keyboard camera pointed down here. It shows the phone so I can see what I'm pushing on. So I correctly this time, I think both times were correct, but I'm able to answer the phone. I get the phone answered. Now I get this automated system saying we're calling in for Doug Betts. If Doug Betts is available, press 1. If you need some time to make Doug Betts available. Now, the recording is not saying, it's not an AI voice saying Doug Betts. They had me record my voice, my name, when I made the appointment. So they want me to record my name. So I say Doug Betts. Turns out that's the reason when this thing's come, we're calling for Doug Betts. It's my voice who is trying to reach me from AT&T. So there's no keypad on the phone. So in the bottom right corner, new update to my phone, right? Bottom right corner, it says keypad. So I press keypad. I get a keypad. And the recording is continuing on. So I know it's press 1. So I press 1. Beep. And 1 appears on the screen. And then it says, we did not recognize your response. What? And then the recording loops again. Press 1 and Doug Betts is available. Press 2 if you need more time. I press 1. Beep. 1 appears on the screen. We did not recognize your response. And it does that, I don't know, 3 or 4 times, and it says, I don't remember what it said at the end. It hung up. It hung up. No more chances. At one point, I'm thinking, do I have to wait until it's given me all of the choices? There's no beep at the end, so I wait until it gives me all. Press 1. Doesn't recognize my response. It cuts off the call. Now I'm thinking, what now? Do I have to make another appointment? So after they hang up, I realize what I did wrong. Did anyone come up with what I did wrong? Smartphones are so smart. You want to figure out already what I'd done wrong? I don't think so. Because that was me doing something wrong. When I pressed the keypad down at the bottom, that was and I still had a bunch of 1s. That was actually for making a new phone call. While I was still on a phone call, what happened when that phone call came in, it was not occupying the full screen like my old operating system did. It was just a little line up here at the top. The correct way to get the correct keypad is to touch that rectangle up at the top so that that phone call becomes active. The active screen has focus. That's what we call in computers. That screen would have focus. Because when I press keypad down at the bottom, that's essentially requesting to dial a new phone call. Maybe it would be a way to conference in another phone call, but I don't think this is the way the old operating system worked. So now I realize what I did wrong. So 5-10 minutes later, they call again. Again, this little rectangle up at top. So I touch the rectangle at top. That gives me a full screen with a keypad. I press the 1, and then it gets through. And I get a person on the phone after a little bit more hold time. And I've got her name somewhere. Don't remember it. It's not relevant. So I talked through the symptoms with her. She says, well, actually, no, not the symptoms. She says, what number are you calling about? I tell her, are the phones not working? I say, well, they're not. It'll ring, but we can't answer it. It just goes dead. She says, well, let me check on the phone. So she checks
chat, please.
from her side. Scott says, no wonder you have a headache. Actually, I got through all of that without any headaches. My headache today is not in relation to that. So anyway, she goes through some things. She's tier 1. She's unable to resolve the issue. And she says, okay, I think she said something about back office or said this to the back office. Basically, it's an escalation to escalate to tier 2 or whatever their terminology is. She didn't use the word tier, T-I-E-R. So I think, great. I have no idea how quickly they're going to call back. Well, I get a bunch of emails, updates on my she assigns a trouble ticket number. I get excellent communication. It's been forwarded to the back office. The back office says, we've received your thing and we're going to start working on it soon. I got another one that says so-and-so is working on your issue. I get emails at every stage of the development, and it's, I don't know, somewhere between 30 minutes to an hour before I actually have a phone conversation with an AT&T technician while I'm still here. So we talk through it, and he does some checking on things, and he's saying that he thinks he's going to have a technician come out. But what I have prepared a write-up with AI assistance. And somewhere along the line in my conversation with him, I said, hey, I have this thing written up to help you understand more about the situation. Do you want this extra information besides what he has been able to observe? Because he tried calling the number and he was able to observe on his equipment that, yeah, it was behaving the way I described. But I got this write-up. Let's see, where should I get it? From here. And I told him, I'm primarily a computer guy, not a phone guy. But I've, with some AI assistance, I've got this write-up. Would you like to have this information? Let's see. Yeah, I can show you this whole screen. And after reading this to him and another piece here, he realized that he wasn't talking to his usual end user, and he was willing to do something a little more resourceful, out of the box, which worked. So here's this thing. The AI is, let's see, where is this here? Yeah, AI is telling me, take a breath. I was wondering if I did something wrong. So I was asking the AI if I had done something to cause this and told it what I thought might have caused the problem. He said, no, I don't think so. So anyway, read this to the technician. We are experiencing a signal supervision failure on the primary line of our AT&T business voice service. When a call is answered, the gateway is failing to trip the ring, resulting in a loop where the caller hears continuous ringing while the office phone has open dead air audio path. We have already reseated the 50-pin Amphenol connector and power cycled the gateway, but the off-hook state is still not being recognized by the AT&T switch. And when I read this after the AI proposed this, I think, you know what? I think a technician is going to say, oh, finally. There's some intelligence on the other side. Even though the guy admits it's not his own words, but he understands what the AI is describing. And indeed I did. Now here is the next thing. The AI, well, not the next thing, but the next thing worth mentioning to you. your must ask for AT&T. And I told the technician, look, this is what the AI is saying based upon all the information I gave it about what we're experiencing. It says busy out the primary. Yeah, I would never have come up with those words myself. That is their industry lingo, I'm deducing. Ask them to busy out or software disable the primary line on their side immediately. This will force all incoming calls, including the elevators, to roll over to the hunt lines, which Mason confirmed are working. Mason was the technician from the MSP, because I gave him the information that Mason gave me as well, which I haven't told you everything about it, but it was more technically, substantive. Check loop current. Ask them to verify the loop current on line 1 is below 20 milliamps. If it is, the problem is on their hardware side, not yours. Now, I am clearly out of my depth here. Although I understand, it's like when a person knows enough about another language to where they can understand kind of something what somebody else is saying, but they can't speak the language. They hear the words, they can understand what's being said, but maybe they can't actually come up with those same words. But now the technician said, yeah, that's not going to work because of the way this device functions or is programmed. But that's okay, because that is still kind of taking him down the road of, is there something else that we can do with that line 1? And he had asked me somewhere along the line, are you at the site? I said, no, I'm at my home, but it's just a 10-minute drive. I can go over there very easily if there's something that we can do. I didn't want to drive over there and hang out for these appointed phone times because I didn't know who I was going to get, which I was absolutely right about, because the first person was not going to do anything with me on site. I was just a tier 1. So we talk about those analog phone lines that are going down through the walls to the phone vendor's equipment. And how they're configured on that patch panel. There are 5 lines. There are 2 wire bundles, the insulated wire that has 4 pair in each of them. So there's 4 pair coming out of one of those wires, sheaths, whatever, bundles. And out of the second bundle, there's only 1 pair coming out. And out of the 4 pair bundle, they are connected to the patch panel ports 2, 3, 4, 6. Port 5 is that other single pair from that other sheath, and that one I've already identified as being for the fax machine. So that makes total sense that the AT&T person was able to let me know that we have 4 lines. I didn't know if we had 3 or 4 lines, phone lines. We have 4 lines. So he proposes, he says, would you be comfortable with moving the pair that's connected to port number 5? Because he can tell that's our primary line. Our primary phone number is on port 5. Are you comfortable moving that from port 5 to port 7? I said, well, sure, I could do that. So we decided to do it. I give him a time that I'll be there and ready. Not 10 minutes, because I hadn't had breakfast yet. I said, I don't want to go without breakfast because I don't know how long I'm going to be there. I'm going to get hangry again if I go without food. So we set up a time, I think it was for 9:30. Office staff is already present. I get into that room 9:15, all set up, and well, almost. We get to that room maybe about 9:20. The security staff, the chief of security is not on duty today. He's taking a day off. Daughter's birthday, I think he said. So one of the other security people, she can't find the right key. So we're delayed there a little bit. Fortunately, I'm there early enough that I'm not, stressing at the moment about the 9:30 call. She calls somebody else. They come up, put a key in, wiggle a little bit, boom, open. And he turns to her and says, "It's the master key." She said, "I tried that." Well, it takes a little jimming. Got to pull it back a little bit. He demonstrated. She didn't know. Anyway, I'm in the room, ready for his call. He calls, and he tells me, "Okay, I'm going to do the programming on my side." I said, "Well, wait a minute. It's kind of a long stretch to get that wire from port number 5 all the way over to 7 because they're grouped in 6. On that patch panel, there's 6 ports together, then there's a gap, and then 6 ports. Well, out of those 6, he wants me to take number 6 and stretch it over to 7. Well, you would think, well, that's not very far. It's only 1 over, but it's got that little bit of a gap. Plus, it is part of that bundle that is also connected to port 2. That's what makes it a long stretch. I just might have to slice the insulation further, but I don't know if it's going to reach. Anyway, it did reach. He does his configuration on his end. In 2 minutes time, he places a call. It's answered by the front office. Yeah, answered by the front office. So he tells me that it seems to be working. And so it looks like we got it fixed. And he says, "Well, do you want to go try placing an outgoing call?" I said, "Sure, let me go downstairs." So I go downstairs and I go over to the security desk and I dial the office number on my cell phone and I look at the security desk. I hear it ringing on my cell phone, but it's not ringing on the desk phone. Nothing. It's not ringing. And I'm thinking, oh crap, he was able to call in, but I can't call in from my cell phone. And previously my cell phone was the only one that was calling in. I forgot to tell you this bit. The night before, when I was troubleshooting this, everybody who tried to call in was having the same problem, but when I called from my cell phone, they could pick up the call and the voice was connected. It worked on my cell phone. So theories were coming about, maybe it's a different cell phone provider, maybe it's a different cell phone, but it turns out the security chief, he also had a iPhone using Verizon service. So we were both on the same service. My phone would get through, nobody else could. So now, after the fix in place, I try calling from my cell phone and it's not ringing. I'm still hearing ringing on the phone. And then I hear, "Hello, such and such company." They answer with the company name. But the phone on the desk shows nothing. And then I realized, oh, wait, it's business hours now. The system has automatically stopped the call forwarding to the security desk and they're being answered by the office phone. So we're fine. We're fine. We do a couple, we call out, call in. Now we figure out why my phone was working because when let's see, how was this? Yeah, when I was calling in I still have the AT&T guy on my phone. How was this? Oh, we were calling in from the security officer, the security attendant at the time. We were using his phone to call in. His phone was the one that was not showing up. So I said that a little bit wrong. But anyway. No, that's not true. Oh, I know what it was. I hung up with the AT&T technician, and I was using my phone. And then I called back to the technician, and he said, "Well, you weren't calling in on the main office line. You were calling in on a back line." Turns out my cell phone for that client has 4 phone numbers remembered. And when I was placing a call from my cell phone, it was always calling in on a back line. Somewhere along the line, we discovered that yes, we could call in on a back line. Anybody could call in on one of the back line numbers and get through and get a regular voice call. And we knew that it was only when they called in on the main primary phone number that they couldn't get through. So at one point, I was almost going to tell the receptionist, because we discovered this earlier in the experience, the first day, I think, of the phone problem experience, that you could call in a back line. I said, "Oh, that's okay. Just call everybody who might be calling you and let them know to use the back line phone number." So anyway, that was the fix. So now I don't have to track down where those lines go. Now here's a piece. We have an MSP for the IP phone service, which I always, part of the troubleshooting, once I had my firewall in place, I went to monitor the logs on my firewall, looking to find, expecting it to be cutting off those phone calls. And I was using an AI. It was guiding me through, yeah, we should see a record in the firewall log when you connect that call, that the firewall is dropping that connection because it somehow is rejecting it. But there was nothing in the logs, even when I successfully place a call using a back line. There was nothing in the firewall logs. This did not become clear until discovering that the IP phones are not using an IP phone service. They use IP phone equipment. I thought it was voice over internet, VoIP, VoIP. No, they are IP phones on the desk. I'm not sure I got this completely understood yet. But they're IP phones on the desk, true IP phones. They are connected through Ethernet cable to the Ethernet switch, which is connected to the IP phone vendor's equipment, which is connected. I haven't seen this physical connection, but somewhere apparently physically connected to, I think, RJ11 2-pair phone wires going to that punch down block that's on the first floor. So the IP phones going through IP phone equipment are getting translated to analog phone call, going upstairs to the AT&T equipment, getting converted back to digital to go through the fiber optic. What a wild ride. Arnold Albert says, confused much? My suspicion is that with changing technology over the years, this has all evolved with multiple different vendors. Let's see, is it 4 vendors? AT&T, 5. AT&T is involved. I haven't told you about my communications with the elevator tech support yet. the elevator service, oh, maybe 6. There's the, which one did I already say? AT&T, elevator service, Comcast, the copier company, because they have a fax line involved, the IT support, me, that's 5. Did I miss somebody? I feel like I missed somebody. At some point along the line, the analog phone lines were probably being provided by AT&T from the second floor using regular old POTS, plain old telephone system. Just analog phone lines like your old houses. For those of you who are old enough, you had an outlet on the wall. You plug in a regular old rotary dial phone or a touch tone phone. It did not need power because it got its power through the phone line. That's where somebody earlier asked, is AT&T providing power over the phone line? Because those phones, they didn't have to be plugged into electrical. They got the amount of electricity they needed through the phone wire, the analog phone line. Somewhere along the line, AT&T said, we're not doing that anymore. So they put a internet service upstairs on the second floor with analog phone lines. Most likely far less expensive than what we're paying now because it was lower speed internet, providing analog phone lines to the phones. Then somewhere along the line, an office manager says, well, let's do IP phones. They start talking with the MSP about IP phones. And for some reason at that point, it wasn't going to be voice over actual IP going through the internet service, but they were going to use the analog phone lines that are coming in, and their equipment was going to convert that to digital to send it out to the IP phones on the desks. And then the AT&T at some point says, well, we're not supporting that old slower internet, so you're going to pay this higher amount, even though you're not using the internet side of this. You just want the analog phone lines out of that service. And eventually they got up to over $1,200 a month that they're paying for analog phone lines, which are going through, none of those are providing phone lines for the elevators. We thought they were. That's why I got in contact with the elevator company, because at one point I was upset with them because, was I? No, not upset with it, but I contacted them to see, can we switch this AT&T analog phone lines to a cellular phone line service? Because I found that yes, there are elevator certified cellular equipment to where we could put a device in that equipment room that connects to cell phone towers and provides an analog signal for the elevators. That's why I was wanting to track down which of those wires is for the elevators. Turns out none of them go directly to the elevators. All those wires go downstairs to the IP phone equipment. And the elevators, when they place a call, they're actually picking up one of the office lines through the IP phone equipment in order to place a call to the office front line number. And that's all elevator certified, life-saving equipment. And that's why one of the AT&T's proposals said these analog lines are for life-saving equipment. And we're thinking, somebody's got life support equipment somewhere in the building? What's life-saving equipment? Then I eventually came to realize, well, that means the phones in the elevator are considered life-saving equipment. Now see there? Yeah, I filled up 2 hours with that story. Freakazoid. I'm thinking, did I cover everything? We got a minute and a half left. Do you have any questions? If you have questions about the story that take us overtime, I'll entertain them. Ay, caramba. Oh, how am I going to handle the potential of my fees? And am I going to discount any of my fees? Do you want to know about that? I mean, I can report to you after that's all said and done. Are each of the apartment provided IP phones? No, they are not. We do.
Read chat,
The
please.
company does not provide phone service to the residents at all. They arrange their own phone service with whoever they are using. But for the most part, they're probably using cell phones, so they probably don't have landlines. Sam Lazar says, sure. I'm not sure, I don't know. Oh, sure, meaning how am I going to handle the discounts, if any? Almost time for the long outro. We'll do the long outro, but David says, best audiobook ever. Let's see. So I answered that. How am I going to handle my charges, and am I going to discount the time? There's a boatload ton of time in this. And Brian says, I'm waiting for this show to come out as a Hollywood movie. John, thanks for the live stream, all your wisdom on this delicate adventure. Yeah, so what I have in mind at this point, and this could change, but I don't think it will. I have in mind at this point to speak with the contact. There's 4 companies involved here. There's the umbrella company, which is a parent company to the 3 residential housing companies. And this is the person that I'll have this conversation with. Zavi Manor says, give them a discount on the price you get from this video, whatever earnings I get from this video. Well, if I was changing the title and the thumbnail to be clickbaity to find people interested in this video, that might be justifiable, but I'm not going to do that. I've come to the realization that when I do that, if I get, usually those videos don't do well in the first place. If I get response, a good number of views, like for the Yahoo issues, or for the non-bootable HP computers, what else? My highest view videos don't reach the right audience. Those very rarely reach the audience who can become regular viewers, rarely reaches the audience of IT support professionals. They are people who are interested in only that topic. And then they're asking other stuff about Yahoo, or other stuff about, the COVID checks. Then no, I don't want questions on those issues. So no, I'm not going to change the title and the thumbnail. This will be a normal Saturday live stream. Oh, the other thing I've noticed is that if I don't include myself in the thumbnail, I'm trying to just get clickbait for those subjects. What happens, YouTube first offers the video to my usual audience, my subscribers and the people who usually watch, offers it to them. If I don't have my face in the video, my theory is that people don't recognize it as my video, and they don't click on it. And the YouTube algorithm says, oh, well, if your regular audience isn't interested in watching this, we're not going to show it to many other people. So no matter what I do with the thumbnail or the title, if it doesn't go over well with my regular audience, YouTube algorithm isn't going to show it to many other people. So it never has a chance to take off with others. So yeah, I've given up on that. discounts. So the conversation would go something along like this, and we need to talk about my charges on this, because there's a lot of time on this. I feel a little uneasy about how much is it going to cost you, but on the other hand, from everything I can tell, I didn't do anything to cause this. The AT&T person says that this happens sometimes. The port on this device can just go bad for an undetermined reason. I'm not totally convinced about that. I'm wondering if when the AI was telling me, no, when you're doing that probe, the equipment is designed that it can handle that kind of a short, not going to damage any equipment. I was working around that port for that line at the time. I have a hard time saying that was just coincidental, but the technicians aren't pointing the finger at me. AI's not pointing the finger at me. I'm not totally buying it myself. Was it because I was messing around in an area that I literally did not know what I was doing? I'm still not unsure about that. And I'll tell my client that. But I'll tell her too that I have worked in a lot of off areas, off my normal beaten path, and they've usually turned out pretty good. And so even if this was me doing something wrong, if I have to eat the cost on this, then that has to, from a business person's point of view, I have to be less willing to venture into those areas that I don't know so well, because I can't afford to be not charging for actual work time, because I have so much work available that I always would be able to be working within my bailiwick if I stay in my lane. So I'll give you a discount. You just ask for it. You can ask for how much you want. But just understand that it's going to reduce my willingness to venture into these other areas. And so far, they have been very, very grateful of me in venturing into these other areas. And also saying that, AT&T says that
Read
their
chat,
equipment
please.
can do it. And I'll let her decide. And I'm completely fine with whatever she chooses, but it will have that side effect. David Graham says, you didn't cause it using a line finder. Cannot hurt it. That's what my research has said, that I could not hurt equipment with that. Oh, here's the piece I left out. This is more of the story. Forgot to mention this part. Important. This might have been the sole cause of this. When I was working with the MSP vendor that evening, he asked me to go back up and check the Amphenol connector to make sure it's pushed in all the way. And I asked him, should I disconnect it and reconnect it and then restart the equipment? And he said, no, don't do that. Just pushing on it to make sure it's fully seated. So I went upstairs with him on the phone, speakerphone. Security chief was with me because he was staying late. He said, I'll stay as late as you need, but he wasn't going to be there the next day. So I go up and there's an Amphenol connector on the, I keep wanting to say it's the front of the patch panel or the back. All right, I'm going to give you more overtime because I'm going to show you pictures. This is worthwhile. This is worthwhile to see this picture and this description, because this could have been what caused the problem. And some of you don't know what an Amphenol connector is, I suppose. So when you see it, some of you are going to recognize, oh, I've seen that. I've seen something like that. Looking. So many features. How about this one? Yeah. Okay, this is a good picture. Show me the picture, man. Here we go. Okay, so I've been talking about this patch panel, and we wound up moving the main office line to port 7. So there it is in port 7. Here's that one packet of wires that has 4 pair, and this is the other packet of wires that has a single pair, which proved to be the fax line in port 5. So here's when I said that it was that long reach to get over to port 7 from port 6, and see how kind of a little bit stretched that port number 2 is in order to make that reach. So these red wires go down here, and then you can see them coming back up here to the patch panel, the not punch down block, this block 66 block. It's over on the left side. You can see a little piece of it here. Now here's the amphenol connector. It's this, I think it's 25 pin amphenol connector. It's got this big gray, thick gray cable. Runs around like that, back behind there, and back around the woods, through the bridge, under the river, and then it comes back here, and it comes over here, and it's plugged onto the back of this patch panel. Quite unusual in my experience that wires coming through the building would be connected to the front of the patch panel. My experience, they would always be, in an Ethernet situation, they would always be connected to the back of the patch panel. And then you would have RJ45 jacks on the front of the patch panel going to a network switch. Well, these are all RJ11. This is an RJ11 patch panel, because it appears to me, because those RJ11 plugs they're not loose in those ports. Down here we see RJ45 ports. You can see how much they have more of a wider profile. These are a little more boxy. So this amphenol connector, where it connects to this AT&T gateway, I think would be a proper word for it. This one, when I went to push it in, it pushed in far. That thing was, I mean, when I pushed that in, it went in, I'd say 3/8 of an inch. Unfortunately, I should have took a picture before pushing it in, and I didn't even visually register that it was not all the way in. I thought that it was. I pushed in on it. Notice there is no Velcro strap holding this in. Apparently that is a common thing. You can see up here, this amphenol connector on the backside, it has a Velcro strap. It's a metallic, the AI told me it's some kind of a metal strap with Velcro. That's weird. But anyway, those are intended to hold them on really tight. So this guy was not on very tight. Now this was discovered after the problem with the phone equipment appeared. My possible theory is because I was futzing around with this equipment and very likely had moved or bumped or somehow
Read chat, please.
Enough of a bump to this loose connector that it broke the electrical connection and maybe just got it, partially. When you get an electrical connection that's just close enough that it just kind of zaps the electrical, and maybe that fried something about that port. In response to my work, but not my fault, the connector was not fully seated. When I start futzing around in that room, it was enough to cause a problem. And when I pushed it in all the way, that wasn't sufficient to fix it, because it had actually at that point damaged that port. The last read chat was, well, that was the problem. Being half out all that time shorted it out. Now, it had been half out for a long period of time, probably, because I don't think I was moving things around enough to cause it to waddle out. Now, maybe like if I had picked this whole patch panel up and maneuvered it, that could have been enough pressure on this cable to let it rock loose. But remember, all the other lines were working. So it was only one line that had a problem. Now, I had the impression that this side of the Amphenol connector was more out than the rest of it. It's highly possible that line number 1, their first line, was towards this side, except that it was port number 7. So I don't know where port number 7 would be on this, although those lights kind of give me the impression that it would be on this left-hand side, but not at the beginning of it. But also that line was the most frequently ringing. None of the other lines I don't think would be ringing, because the ring would always come in on the first line, I think. So my working theory is that yes, my work did trigger the problem, but it wasn't my errant activity because of not knowing what I was doing. Because I did research. I did some research about that probe and the signal generator before using it. I didn't just go into that blindly. Now, there was another remembrance that oh yes, here it is. Let's see. At some point along the line, oh, I know what it was. When I first seated this device, when I pushed it in all the way on the phone with the MSP, we did that shortly after power cycling this AT&T gateway. There's a switch on the back. Power cycled it at his request while we were waiting for it to come up. He said, oh, by the way, while we're waiting for it to come up, check the Amphenol connectors, push them in. That's when it pushed in so far. This one was securely seated. Remember, I'd asked him, do you want me to disconnect it and reconnect? So I pushed it in all the way. And that's after this box was taking a long time to boot up. So after I pushed it in, I said, do you want me to restart the AT&T gateway again? I didn't call it that at the time because I didn't have that verbiage. He said, no, don't do that. He said that because it had been taking so long for it to start up. Well, once this got started, once this got up and running, new symptom, worse. The symptom was worse, and it was inconsistent. The symptom I described before about calling, caller ID would show up, pick up the phone, dead air, hang up, dials again. That symptom was no longer present. The symptom now was inconsistent and different. I tried calling in, there's no ringing on the phone at all. We tried calling out, nothing. Oh, by the way, through all this time, you couldn't place an outgoing call on their phones. So anyway, after restarting that device, the symptoms are completely different. Once I end the conversation with the MSP technician, myself and the security director, we say, you know what, let's try. I think he might have even suggested it, restarting that gateway again. So we did that. We went and restarted the gateway. Then we're back to this consistent, stable symptom. So pushing that connector in while the thing was booting up, that got us to an inconsistent and different symptomology. opinion, when you reseat wires anywhere, you should do a restart after that happens. So a lot of this whole process, the troubleshooting steps, the thought processes, that all translates into computers. And this all translates into a service technician such as I am, primarily providing computer support and offering outside of that realm. And my clients are really, really express appreciation. And this particular client is over and over said, she says, Doug, I appreciate you telling me, updating me about what's going on, but I'm going to do whatever you say. She trusts me that much. All right, now I think we should get out of here. Was there any other questions? Nobody gave me a exclamation mark C for it. Yeah, I don't spot anything offhand. So let's say goodbye. Say goodnight, Gracie. There's an email if you want to send a story about your experiences or questions for me to respond to during the
Read chat,
show.
please.
And Brian says, bring on the big. And have a great weekend, everybody. I will. Thanks for fixing my headache, by the way. Have a great weekend. Goodbye.
That's all, folks.
Tune in, days a week for Windows support, the help you seek. Send an email, leave a comment, join the chat. Our tech-savvy crew is where it's at. Not just me, but a whole community, helping you solve tech mysteries. With friends who are here almost every day, we love to chat and help you find your way. So subscribe now, be part of the team, for Windows support and more than you dream. Join the fun, don't miss a single stream. At LiveWindowsTraining-DougBetts are simply lit, where tech support supreme. Where tech support supreme. Tune in, days a week for Windows support, the help you seek. Send an email, leave a comment, join the chat. Our tech-savvy crew is where it's at. Not just me, but a whole community, helping you solve tech mysteries. With friends who are here almost every day, we love to chat and help you find your way. So subscribe now, be part of the team.